Hello, good morning. So, this podcast is about encephalitis. Now, I've been speaking in terms of mythology, in terms of several concepts since when I began this podcast. But I have been calling them as soul sync practices, distance healing, diksha, um, many such causes. And I've been saying, people need to practice things a little differently. And then over the years, I discovered there are several things that we haven't had reason to think about, including the anatomy and physiology of a humane being. Yeah, of a human being. A humane body, I discovered, is a humane construct formed over time, um, with many kinds of influences. And um, when we are paying attention to our body in a particular manner, diseases abate, health restores. Now, I've been speaking about it since some time. And over the 2 years of the pandemic, um, we came to healthy and natural breathing, movementless yoga. And I was seeing changes that has been in some way described as a Samudra Manthan, where there is Vishachikitsa by Parvati. Parvati's method of, Parvati's Dashamahavidya helped Vishachikitsa, and thereby Samudra Manthan continues. And I discovered that what I'm doing has aspects of Vishachikitsa, Tattvashuddhi, and those kinds of aspects. But in the Samudra Manthan, one of the problems I had is, as described in mythological texts, there is reference to Rahu and Ketu losing their heads. Yeah. From Vishnu camouflaging as Mohini. Yeah. And I was thinking, that's cheating. Yeah. And that caused so much of the problem. If that cheating wasn't there, then maybe it would be a different story. But then historically, there have been many changes, many cycles of evolution. And there has been a representation of something that has been happening quite often or has happened, which also gave rise to the Dashavatara, Dashami cycles. So we have the Krishna avatar, Rama avatar, yeah, many avatars like that. And each to restore dharma. Yeah, dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So every so many years, there's an avatar that comes to restore dharma. So that's been the thought line. And mythologically, these textbooks, different images, are in many ways representing several facets of the dharma restoring processes. Yeah. Shiva, for example, through the supporting with the Samudra Manthan, the Vishnu avatar. Yeah. So there are several avatars there. And over 2 years of the pandemic, I discovered that a human body is designed to cover all of these Dashavatara cycles per person every so many times. So it's not every so many lifetimes a Dashavatara comes and then restores Dharma, but these cycles happen within a single human being, every human being, with the Dashavatara and Dashami cycles, in which case, how we count time would need to change. And how to count time, there is a way to do that. Now, if I'm going to go into those details, it becomes very complex. And we are right now dealing with encephalitis amongst WHO's global list of diseases. And we've been having these concerns in some time. And over 2 years of the pandemic, I discovered that when I am maintaining health in a particular manner, the fabric of time-space heals in such a way that lockdowns were lifting. Of me as one person could affect such a change in the fabric of time space. If all of us are actually learning what I've been doing, then we could turn around WHO's global list of diseases and health, wealth, wisdom challenges. Now, it may seem like a claim, but then after experience, if you've, it's like the movie Moana. Yeah, she's gone a certain distance. She's seen things nobody else can. Yeah, has any reason to think about. For example, the ocean, working with her, or things that are phenomenal. Yeah, and in light of such great evidence, it would be foolish not to continue on the path of doing the right things. So on that line, and then to teach it, yeah, because this is very teachable. So after moving through several business networking groups in trying to make my suite of thought lines and solutions, on-table therapy work, movementless yoga, course correction counseling, community harmonizing activities, or rather market improvement activities. Yeah. I discovered that we don't really know what I'm talking about. Yeah. What I'm making available has not been discovered earlier, could not be discovered earlier because these thought lines were not accessible because we didn't have reason to connect dot across timelines, to look at time from a different perspective, or to look at, there's another way to look at things. For example, people on Earth may have been living underground and over time have now learned to live on the ground. Intraterrestrial, extraterrestrial, extraterrestrial on Earth. Other planets are said to have had or are showing signs of life, ancient life, but they may not have figured out how to live on Earth as an extraterrestrial, on Earth, on the surface of the ground. And we continue to be functioning from thought lines of living under Earth, survival, and then how we need to. So we don't really know how to live on Earth. Because on Earth, there are other influences. For example, now we have Andromeda Galaxy in different stages of merging with Milky Way Galaxy. So we have cosmic, miasmic, chromatic, telluric concerns that we didn't quite, we are in different stages of figuring out how to work with them so that we can live on Earth and be an extraterrestrial, on Earth people. We have ideas of alien, but how to live on Earth may be alien to us. We don't really know how to live on Earth. WHO's global list of diseases is also talking about we don't really know how to be healthy, wealthy, wise on Earth. We don't know if we knew that before under the Earth, but we are having this list now. We may have been warring tribes, and now we have the United Nations and more peace across boundaries. Having said that, we have encephalitis. Standing upright on 2 feet with the head right on top against gravity. Yeah, where gravity is pulling us down. It would be easier to sleep, but our human body is designed to stand up. Yeah, with head right on top, eyes facing forward. Other animals haven't had to deal with that. Yeah, or that's not their constitutional make. And we even apply makeup to then enhance the beauty of the composition which formed over several cycles of evolution. Quite a remarkable feat. Now, there have been reported to be signs of encephalitis, several parts of India. I don't know about other countries, but since we are all standing on Earth, we are likely to face some kind of a difficulty. If you cannot feel the top of your head, I ask you to pay attention to the top of your head. And if you cannot feel the scalp, the skin of your head, you probably are dealing with encephalitis or or itis, inflammation, some kind, because of which you can't feel it. Because that's been happening so often, so frequently, that you can't feel. If I ask you to feel your palms, for example, you have no problem because you're used to sensing your palm, your hands in a certain way. You may not be used to sensing the top of your head on an everyday moment-wise basis. What you can see, you take more care of. What you have a reason to pay attention to, you take more care of. If you're having, say, calluses and you need to look your hands are looking good, you're likely to more pay attention to it. You may not have as much reason to pay attention to the top of your head because you have a lot of work to pay attention to. And you also maybe overloaded with work and then it goes hot. Yeah. Calor, sign of inflammation. Hot, you are with tension and a lot of work, you have even heat coming out of your ears. Calor, it's a sign of inflammation. You get angry, big emotions, and you want to scream at the top of your voice and, yeah, shouting. Sonar, one of the signs of inflammation. Yeah, the sounds of inflammation. If you're hurt, yeah, you say yeah. Instead of that, words come out of your mouth. Yeah, and you don't really know the cause for it. Sometimes it is somebody else. It's because of them that I'm like this. Yeah, or it could just be that your tissues are inflamed, and you cannot calm down. You've got to speak in loud voices just to maybe at least relieve some pressure. Yeah, you speak it out, and then some pressure is off. Hopefully, but that doesn't really work. But maybe one of the things, some people sing. Yeah, singing brings some relief because there's some humming and many kinds of sounds, and that tends to heal a little bit of the inflammation. So singing is a good activity. If you can engage in that every now and then, that'd be good for you. When you get angry, for example, you get red in the face. Yeah, eyes red, cheeks, skin all goes red. Rubor, sign of inflammation. Yeah. Swelling, eyes all red, tears, and when you wake up in the morning, your face would be just this much. And as the day goes, yeah, as the sun rises, your face becomes a little more bigger. This happens every day for every person. Wake up in the morning, face this much. And as the day is dawning, your face becomes a little more bigger. I can't say that as tumor, swelling. Yeah. But your face, you wash and then you look all fresh. But we don't know if that's also because as the sun goes across the sky, with your head right on top of your upright standing body, we don't know if your body is dealing with some inflammation. Yeah. And so your face looks a little more fuller. Yeah. You don't know if that's tumor. You would say a tumor related with cancer. But then it's a symptom of inflammation, more or less. Yeah. We may not regard heat in our head as a sign of inflammation until you actually begin to recognize that as. Yeah. Till then, the lungs were still the lungs, even before somebody named it as lungs, or you began to feel your lungs. Yeah, it was still there, doing the work of the lungs. Well, now, tumor, functionalessa. You don't want to too many things. It's just a few little things is fine because there is inflammation. You can't think much. Thinking is a difficult problem for a lot of people. They would rather follow instructions and do things than actually think for themselves and do stuff which is good for them or for which is beneficial for you, contemporaries, future generations. Thinking, if you're having a difficulty thinking, and thinking is quite a laborious process, it takes many steps. Some of the difficulty in you being able to think is because your head is inflamed. I cannot say encephalitis because encephalitis is the brain a little inflamed and is sitting on your olfactory bulb. Now, olfactory bulb is like two important nerves. kind of a pair of them, on top of which your brain sits. And if the brain is inflamed, that's like a person sitting on you. Yeah, that may be a little difficult for you to, like get off, because it becomes you're suppressed. Yeah, you're oppressed. And it would be difficult for you to speak and do your stuff because you got this person sitting on you. So olfactory nerves jammed a little bit, yeah, pressured from above by the brain, by the inflamed brain, makes it difficult for you to smell. So if you have a difficulty smelling, yeah, even your breath has a smell of its own. Healthy breath has a smell of its own. Unhealthy breath has a smell of its own. If you're often having sinusitis and itis is inflammation, the sinuses are inflamed, and you have sniffles or you have different kinds of tension in your head, you may be dealing with different kinds of encephalitis. Yeah, one or the other kind. Basically, it means the inflammation of the brain. You're thinking too much, lot of thinking, chick, 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 all the time. Yeah, then maybe because you need to kind of cool off a bit. You can listen to music. You can sing. That will be more beneficial. Listen to birds. Watch the greenery. Take a walk. When your feet moves, that also has an effect on your brain because the nervous system from the feet is also connected to your brain. When you walk, there are things happening in your brain that then helps cool the brain. So when you walk, the nerves kind of do different things. There is a breadth of the nerves. Like when we inhale, exhale, there is lungs helping with the movement of air in and out. Muscles also breathe in an alive person. Dead body, not breathing. Yeah. Bones are kind of brittle, kind of in a dead body. They're more juicy in an alive body. Blood, fascia, different parts of the body, including nerves, breathe in an alive body. When you're walking, the nerves get a chance to breathe a little. And that'll help to do a little bit of air venting, like from inside. They're moving the inflammation. The brain is a lot of nerves. Yeah. So when you're walking left, right, there's a little bit of air conditioning from inside. It'll cool your head a little bit, which is good for reducing encephalitis, inflammation of the brain. If there is too much of inflammation, like when you get a wound, there's swelling, and your brain is a little swollen and it hits the skull and your skull is not breathing, yeah, skull also breathes. From a biodynamic perspective, skull also breathes. Yeah. We will cover some different aspects of it as we go along, but thinking about disease from a different perspective helps us be healthier, better. And it's possible to be healthy and be healthier without using things, medicines, instruments, incense, crystals. It is possible to be healthy without any of that. So it's a completely different paradigm of healthcare. But if your brain, coming back to the topic, if your brain is inflamed and then going bang, bang against your skull, that is additional pressure from outside inflaming your brain. Already inflamed, lot of thoughts, and then pressing against your brain. Yeah. That may be one of the reasons why you need to cool off a bit. Listen to some music and listen to some water fountain. Little blah, 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 blah. Helps you. You listen all. As you're listening, people who have inflammation have a difficulty listening. So if you have a difficulty listening to people, your own spouse, your parents, teachers, authority people, or even to yourself, you may be dealing with some form of inflammation. So now you say, oh, we are all having problem. You wake up in the morning and start solving problems. Now you have a little more perspective of one of the problem you may be facing. Once you have perspective on one of the problems you're facing, and then there are ways to solve it, you'll be able to think clearly, be less inflamed, less reactive. When it's like the nerves, like the wiring is a little tense, it goes zzz, yeah. When your nerves are not so tense, a little bit relaxed, you can think clearly. What the nerves are doing can do their function instead of going zzz, yeah, in survival mode. So I've covered a few signs and symptoms. Your ability to listen, maybe coming from nerves a little tense, yeah. You're able to feel the top of your head, sides of your temples, back of your head. That's also your ability to feel them would indicate you don't have as much inflammation, yeah? Or you're in different stages of healing from inflammation. Or in other words, you're able to keep your head on top of your slender neck on shoulder, yeah, and be graceful. Otherwise, you're a reaction waiting to happen because inflammation from the top, gravity, left, right, gadgets, yeah, your nerves are a little tense, 6 signs of inflammation. You have a difficulty keeping your head on your shoulders with common sense. Common sense gets affected, yeah, when you have signs of inflammation. Again, the 6 signs of inflammation: sonar, sounds, lot of talk, 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 tick, 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 thought, yeah, and worrisome thoughts at that, yeah. Phew, I tell you, oh my goodness, and hallucinations, and then problems, and then you imagine, and then you have hypothetical thinkings. Yeah, yeah, sonar, which also then relates with listening. There's too much of sounds. Yeah, your ability to listen becomes less. Both related, sound, sonar. Tumor, swelling, yeah. A little fluidy, sinusitis, and then fluid and tears and all of that stuff. So, tumor related there, yeah. Rubor, redness, yeah. Sometimes some people have red cheeks, fire inside, all heat, or that'll be calor. But rubor, redness, is a sign, yeah. Sometimes acne, red, inflammation, rubor. Calor, heat, yeah, like oh, tension, no, cool, and then you have to drink something cool, and then calm, and then you can think a little more, and then you're a little more better person, yeah, once you cool a bit for a lot of that. Calor, heat. Functional, did I miss something? Yeah, dolor is pain. You have pain anywhere, headache, skin a little tense, yeah, eyes a little burny, yeah. That could sometimes be a little painy, yeah. It's a little burn, but it's also sometimes pain. Or you have tooth ache anywhere. The jaws are in some way having a little tension. You may not be recognizing them as pain because you may be so used to the pressure, you don't recognize it as actually a pain. Yeah, that's like the wallpaper in the room. It's always been there. You after some point you stop recognizing them as wallpaper. Pain in some way may always be there in some way that you call it as pressure. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable. This is how life is. This is how your body is. No, you've just been dealing with chronic signs of inflammation. Yeah, a little bit encephalitis. Yeah, all this. Now, dolor, pain, functionalesa. You're not functioning as well as, for example, in your childhood. Yeah, you could even, you could do somersaults and then twist in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Yeah, you have a little difficulty, your joints are a little creaky cranky. You might be dealing with signs of inflammation. Okay. It could also be because the natural fluids have gone a little less. That's also like earth gone a little dry, less hydrated, and then that will look like inflammation. It'll be more heat. Yeah. Um, a little more joint arthritis, itis again, inflammation. Yeah. So signs like that. So your skull and joints a little creaky, and then you have bruxism. Your jaw needs to you tend to bite your teeth in the night. Yeah, that's all different creaky, cranky things. Body trying to relieve some tension, or there's a habituated way of doing things. But it inflammation, a different kinds of encephalitis. But I'm still giving you signs and symptoms. Power to recognize. And then there is ways to resolve them. But first, recognize the symptoms. And then you know if you have which of these symptoms. And then there are ways to resolve it. If you have things-based solutions, there are people doing yoga, there are many kinds of essential oils, there are anti-inflammatory diet and many kinds of things. You have those solutions available. You can sing. Singing is a way by which you can relieve some of the tension. Or you can contact me and we will arrive at a no thing based. You don't even need to sing. You don't even have to move a muscle, and you'll begin to start healing inflammation. Yeah, I've been doing this since a few years. There are multiple benefits from it. For example, you have time, which you may otherwise take to sing, to do many, many things. Yeah, you can employ it, and then you can multiply time. You can gainfully employ the time you may take for all of those activities into creating something. Yeah, then making life better. Yeah, there are many such benefits like that. So you can contact me. That's one option also that's available. So thank you so much for your kind interest. I hope this has been of value to you. We keep speaking a little more. If you think sharing this with somebody else is going to help them too, then maybe you could help translate into their language. But it still makes life a little more interesting and easier. Yeah. Good day.